Hello, everyone. This is Darcenovia here. Jason, I want to dedicate this portion of the video to thank you for being behind me. And I like to thank, everybody in Jason's audience who supports me in all this. Settlers is a book I knew from the very start it would be controversial if I said anything, for or against Settlers. Settlers is a book. For those of you who don't know, it was written by Jay Sakai. It was released in the 80s after, you know, the fall of the Black Panther Party. And Jay Sakai looked through American history and basically told in his book Settlers how it was, not the mystified version of what we're fed. Now, if you want more information, I suggest you watch my other video because I don't want to repeat those points here, but I just want to clear things up here. Reading the book Settlers does not make you a Sakaiist. Neither does accepting the book's conclusions make you a Sakaiist. First off, my stance against for the book Settlers is, and I'm just going to state what it is. Jay Sakai was correct on the history of the white proletariat. He was correct on the failures of the communist movement in the USA. Jay Sakai was correct on how the American Communist Party did not suffer the repression that other communist parties and other countries did during the height of the Red Scare of the 1950s. He was correct in all these things. To deny, this is to deny history. And honestly, I think my point was pretty clear in my video, but if I have to reiterate what I said, I will say this. My interpretation of Settlers is it's basically explaining why the white left has failed and why it continues to fail. And I still consider the book relevant. Do I think Third Worldists should they have to read it? I don't think it's a requirement, but I think they should, mostly to be informed on the book Settlers so they can engage with those who actually have read the book Settlers, because Settlers is a book that many people in the black and indigenous communities who actually are serious about socialism, they've read this book. And I feel like we need to understand this book so we understand why people, accept this book. I don't think Settlers is the end-all, be-all when it comes to history of colonialism. Honestly, that's just where I stand on it. And if you think people who read this book and accept its conclusions, are not really leftists, but they're liberals, I think that's chauvinistic and borderline racist. You're basically saying that black and indigenous leftists are stupid and they're incapable of coming to their own conclusions, and you're basically telling the rest of the left are also stupid. Now, I'm not naming any particular individuals here, but I'm just saying the vibe that I've been seeing from those who I've interacted with all over social media about the book Settlers. They all hold the same mentality of the white leftists. White leftism is a problem. If we're not, going to learn from our history why we have failed, and I'm speaking from somebody that's fair-skinned himself, if we're not even going to actually have an honest-to-God conversation about the book Settlers, then what the hell are we doing? We don't have to agree with what the book says. And hell, we don't even have to, think that Jay Sakai was correct on everything. But to outright dismiss this book as a CIA or FBI, whatever stupid crap the white left wants to come up with, then you might as well say that about the Black Panthers. The Black Panthers said similar things that Jay Sakai said in their speeches and their writings. Harry P. Newton, Fred Hampton. If we're going to basically say Jay Sakai was a Fed, we might as well say that about them too. Of course you won't, because you're not stupid enough to say that. We're communists, not liberals. We need to stop getting emotional because we feel uncomfortable with the things that we read. The whole point of educating ourselves, unlearning what we've learned, is to feel uncomfortable. I myself have a confession. I felt uncomfortable when I was reading the book Settlers. I felt unsettled when I read the book. But you know what I did? I persevered and read and read and read until I was done with the book. Because what's important is not being comfortable, it's learning. Do you have to agree with what Settler has to say? No, you don't. You can reject the book completely. Like pretty much most third worldists do. Jason rejects the book. I accept parts of the book Settlers and reject other parts of Settlers. It should be obvious what I said in my previous video. But people who, the chauvinistic part of the left, who watched my video, they turned it off as soon as they heard things that they disagreed with. And I don't mean turn off the video, mind you. I mean not actually listen to the video. They heard the video, but they didn't listen to the video and misunderstood what I said. I mean, not a private conversation, a public conversation. Because if something this divisive on the left, we should struggle with it. We need to have struggle sessions. We need to actually talk about this book and actually find out, why does this book scare us so much? As fair-skinned leftists need to have this conversation, because many people who read Settlers and accept its conclusions, they have a reason to. Their people have an entire history of being oppressed by people that look like me. We need to, read this book and understand it. Just like we need to read other books like Wretches of the Earth, Malcolm X's autobiography. We can't just disregard this stuff. Learning is a uncomfortable process, and we have to unlearn what we learned. Hopefully, I don't have to discuss this again or address this again until I have other plans. I'm not going to discuss them at this time, but you'll know soon enough what they are. Anyway, don't be a white leftist. Be a actual comrade that actually wants to fight for socialism. This is Darcinovia. See you next time.